Hey guys, Bosse here. In this video, I'm going to teach you the major triad shapes on the first set of 3 strings. Now, let's clarify one thing right off the bat here. What does this whole thing about the first set of 3 strings mean? Well, think about it for a second. On the guitar, we have 4 sets of 3 strings. We have these 3 strings, these 3, these 3, and these 3. And we can play triads of all qualities, whether that be major, minor, diminished, augmented, on any of those sets, okay? And ultimately, that's what you want to learn is you want to learn all the triads of all qualities on every set. Today, we are going to learn just the top 3 strings because you want to compartmentalize things because I'm telling you, there's so many, and if you take it all on at once, it can be kind of overwhelming, okay? Now, another thing to get out of the way, when we learn our triads, regardless of what set of strings we're playing on, we want to use this terminology of where the root is, okay? So you're going to hear me say things like first string root triad or second string root triad or third string root triad in the context of these specific triads that I'm teaching you. And what that means is that if something is a first string root triad, that just means that the root is on the first string. And the root is just simply the letter name of the chord. So let me give you an example. If you have a G major triad, the root is G. Even if you had something more complex like a B diminished, the root is B. If you had an A minor, the root is A, okay? If something is a second string root triad, it just means that the letter name of the chord, which is the root, okay, is on the second string, okay? And if it's a third string root triad, it just means that the root is on the third string, okay? So let's pick the key of G, okay, and let's learn the first string root triad shape for G, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the note G on the first string because it's a first string root triad, right? I've got it at the 3rd fret with my first finger. Now what I'm going to do is you want to memorize this shape and memorize, most importantly, that this is a first string root major triad, okay? I'm going to bar the top 2 strings, okay, the G and the D at the 3rd fret on the 1st and 2nd string, and then I'm going to insert my 2nd finger on the 3rd string on the 4th fret. I'm going to play that, and remember, when you're playing these triads, you got to be very precise with the right hand, okay? Check this out. Precise in the sense that you only want to strum those 3 notes, okay? This isn't like a big open chord where you can strum all the strings, right? This is a triad. You can only strum those 3, okay? So there is our first string root major triad shape. Now, let me give you a little bit of advice with this. If you're looking at this shape and you're like, this looks a little familiar, I've seen something like this. Well, when you learned your 15 open chords, you probably remember learning F, okay? And if you go down here, if you look at this, if I just inserted 1 extra note, there's our classic F shape. Now, it's not really an open chord because there's no open strings, but we do tend to learn this within the framework of the 15 traditional open chords that we learn, okay? So there is your first string root G major triad. Now, let's go to the 2nd string root shape, okay? Now, that's going to be at our 7th fret. I'm going to put my 2nd finger on the 7th fret 1st string, my 1st finger on the 7th fret 3rd string, and my 3rd finger on the 8th fret 2nd string. And I'm going to play that, just the top 3 strings. Okay? Now you might be looking at that saying, that looks a little familiar as well. Well, it's a classic D shape, right? Because if I went like this, there's our D that we all know and love, right? Okay? But here, it's not D anymore. It can't be, right? I mean, here it's D, but here, check this out. You'll like this. D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G. It's G here. And remember, this is a 2nd string root major triad shape. And the reason it's a 2nd string root is, like I always say, is that the 2nd string is the root of this chord. And in this case, this note on the 2nd string that I'm holding down is the note G, and that's why this is G. Okay, got it? Okay, so now let's learn the final major triad shape. Okay, this is a third string root. I'm going to bring my first finger to the 10th fret on the first string, press that down. I'm going to take my third finger, I'm going to go to the third string 12th fret, okay, my third finger. My pinky is going to go on the 12th fret second string, and I get this shape. Okay, now this particular shape tends to be a little more mysterious to a lot of people. Some of you may remember this shape if you've played like a B flat down here. Like a lot of us know B minor, and sometimes we'll learn when we first start out this kind of shape for a B flat. So if you do know that, you're probably familiar with this. If you don't, this is going to be a little out in left field, but it's just something that you have to memorize. Okay? So again, this is my third string root major triad shape. And again, by third string root, it just means that the note on the third string that I'm holding down with my third finger on the 12th fret is the note G. Okay? And there's how it sounds. Now, are there any other ways to remember this? Because you might be saying to yourself, well, I don't know the notes on each string that well, okay? And that's something eventually that you do want to learn. Well, the one thing that you could do is you could learn it by the proximity of frets between each shape. So if I go back down here, you could memorize that that is the first string root shape. And then the next shape, 1, 2, 3, 4, is 4 frets higher. So you could learn it like that in terms of how many frets higher. And when I go 4 frets higher, I play this D shape, right? And again, it's a D shape because it looks like the classic D we all know, okay? And then you could memorize that the next one is 3 frets higher and looks like this. Got it? Okay? So these triads are extremely helpful to learning songs. Remember the one thing that I always say in my videos, knowing the 15 open chords, knowing what I call the 15 additional open chords, knowing 6th and 5th string root power chords, and triads, and some of the bar chords is really the catalyst for learning so many of the great songs that we love, okay? These triads appear in everything from classic rock to new modern songs to a variety of genres, from blues to rock to heavy metal to reggae, everything that you can imagine, okay? One example, a great part of one of my favorite tunes, kind of a cliche, Stairway to Heaven, there's a part that goes like this. So you got some triads there, okay? In one of my favorite songs by The Police, Message in a Bottle, you got some triads at the end that go, okay? Now, you might say, well, there's some different shapes there. Well, I was playing some majors and minors, but it's still relevant. And even to all you Taylor Swift fans out there, you've got tunes like... So you can see it's cross-genre. It doesn't matter if we're talking about super pop, talking about heavy metal. One of my favorite tunes by Van Halen, Running with the Devil. He does... Okay, now those were an example of triads on the second set of 3 strings. So maybe that's a good time for me to end this video, because I'm certainly going to do a video that incorporates those ones as well. So we'll see you next time. Thanks.